Hello, so this month I am releasing my third full-length album. It's called Prequel. It's got 15 tracks and it's a little different than my previous two albums. So I wanted to make this video so people know what to expect, what they're getting into if they listen to it. My 2016 album, Harbor City Meltdown, was a cohesive album that the songwriting-wise, it was focused on, my move down to Florida and down to the South, and how I engaged in a delivery for the local Chinese restaurant for over a year, and they had delivery by Camaro. Then it was my IROC, and then my next album in 2018, Hive Mind, I recorded when I moved back up to the Washington D.C. area, to Washington D.C. actually. And I wrote those songs in my office, and they're cohesive. I mean, perhaps it's a concept album, you might want to call it, about how the way a city functions and how it's whether or not the city as a whole, is properly looked at as a living entity. And it gets into like quantum mechanics and things like that. So that's a fun album for any of you who know me from my physics days. But this is something altogether different, and Prequel is not really intended to be a cohesive album, but rather it documents my music from 1990 to 2015, which is a pretty wide span, and you're going to get a lot of different styles in there, and some you're going to like, some you're not, and you're going to get a lot of variation in recording and production quality and performance quality as well. So, but that part of the goal is that when I or when anybody else listens, says, "Hey Alexa, play some songs by Kevin Borland" or whatever, you don't just get songs from the last 5 years. Now there'll be a balance, and you'll get songs from all 30 years. So that's one reason I wanted to put out this album. And the other is just for some closure on this stuff. I had some projects kicking around from that time period that I hadn't yet put lyrics to, or that I wanted to fix the guitar on because it was out of tune or something, or just finish some of these songs that never got finished, but I thought deserved to. I mean, I played them live, but the recordings never got a proper day in the sun yet. So, and I also included versions of two songs that are not mine at all, although they're part of my life, but they're not. I didn't write them. One written by my Uncle John, my father's one brother, and the other by my Uncle Michael, my father's other brother, who just recently died this year. And I've included those because they were big influences on my music. And well, let's just dive into the track listing. There's 15 songs on there, and I'll give you a little sample of each song and tell you a little bit about what it's about and how it fits into, I guess, my music career, if you want to call it that. So these songs the track list is generally in chronological order, but not totally strictly speaking. There's a Heaven is the first original song that I did with my high school band, Descending Angel. I think we were named after the Misfits song, but I didn't really know too much about the Misfits yet, and I just kind of thought it sounded cool, and I said yeah when one of the other band members suggested it. The lyrics were written by Christina, who's now later married the singer in the band, Steve Santiago, and also the core of the band was me and Steve and Steve's other brother, Rob Santiago. So Rob helped. He wrote some of the music in this, and along with me, it was a collaboration, and Christina wrote the lyrics. And this was our first original. It was kind of a rock ballad. We played mostly covers then of like metal songs. We played songs like Testament, Nazi, and whatever. But anyway, we played parties and church dances, and later on we played some of the bars and things across the border in rural New York, like around Warwick or whatever that is, in that borders Sussex County, New Jersey, where we're all from. And Jim was also in the band, although he's not on this recording. He was our bassist, and he went to high school with me, and we learned guitar and bass together and music theory on the phone pretty much. Like at night we talked for like 5 hours a night after school, and like be practicing learning Mr. Big songs and things like that. And production quality on this song is admittedly not the best, but it's to be expected. I mean, this is high school material here. But it's significantly better than the original 1992 studio recording we did. In this version, Jeff McManus played the drums, and I was happy with the drum part, but not with the sound of the drums themselves, the mix. and I didn't have any, devices that would actually play the original tapes that it was recorded on. So what I did was I, sequenced a drum sequencer and basically copied every single note that he played, and did it with synth drums instead. And so it's really, Jeff's beat on there, and I'm playing guitar. I played the bass on here on this version, and I'm singing it. And those of you who know me, I'm not very religious person. In fact, I'm not particularly a fan of organized religion generally. However, the song is called "There's a Heaven," and it was our response to Skid Row's "I Remember You," or maybe Poison's "Every Rose Has Its Thorns." I got my Poison shirt. That was like my first concert, first metal concert anyway, hair metal. So there are some neat things on this track, though. I mixed in parts of earlier recordings of the song into this version, and so you've got Missy Helmstetter was our singer in 1992, 1993. She's singing the backgrounds on a couple of the choruses, and then we got Dan, who was the singer from Weekends with Dan later in the 2000s. And he's singing some of the backgrounds. And we've got Rob Santiago's original drum solo, or whatever you want to call it, coming out of the bridge of the song, and that's mixed in. So you're hearing some part of the original recording there from the 1992. His drums on that part of the song. That was fun to time it up. But anyway, this version that appears on Prequel dates back about 15 years. And the next song is Hideaway. If I remember correctly, it was the first song I ever wrote entirely by myself, probably in 1991. And we never played it live with Ascending Angel, but later on my band Cleverneck did play it live. And I played it live at a lot of solo shows afterwards. And the version that you hear on this album is Jeff McManus playing drums. It's his actual drums, and he was the drummer for Weekends with Dan, which was one of my later bands. And it starts out with a sample from the pre-roll of the tape when Dan did a version singing this song. I played all of the other instruments and re-sang the song. This version was remixed maybe 5 years ago. Next song is Spaghetti and Meatballs, and this is a remastered version of the original 1995 recording of the song. Jeff McManus is playing drums, and he's also doing the vocals, and I'm playing guitar and bass. And the lyrics were based off one of his mother's cookbooks, a recipe for spaghetti and meatballs, and the kids you hear in the background are some of his relatives, and this was a really fun song to record. One of the more fun times I had recording music in Jeff's basement. Next we got The Persistence of Metal, and this is also originally recorded in 1995 in the same sessions I did with Jeff. And however, I subsequently completely re-recorded all the instrument tracks with my performance and added vocals. I'm not terribly happy with the lyrics, but the song reflects the type of music that I was playing back then, and mostly playing and writing in the mid-1990s. The original recording was on a CD I handed out to family and friends and fans in 1999, my 1999 Christmas CD. So it was originally 12 minutes long, but I spared you and reduced it to 8 minutes of metal in this song. So at the time in 1999, though, that recording didn't have lyrics on it. It was an instrumental on that album. So this is, the finished version of the song and condensed version. Next we got Come On Eileen, which was also fun to record. I remember this was done in my basement, but with Jeff producing it, and we put my giant crate cabinet in the closet and stuck a mic in front of it and had fun with it. This I think was the first song I ever recorded with Jeff McManus, if I'm not mistaken. And I was introduced to him by Rob Santiago. We met at an Yngwie Malmsteen show at the time. Jeff's band was opening for Yngwie Malmsteen in Brooklyn, and that was a fun night as well. So while this song was recorded, I believe, earlier than Spaghetti and Meatballs, I put it here because it was first first released to the public on the 1999 Christmas demo, and that's sort of the time period I associate it with. Then we got Try a Little Harder, and after the various lineups of Descending Angel, which is my high school band that carried on a little bit into college, and also after my solo work with Jeff McManus, and my college cover band, because that's what I did mostly in college. I played in a cover band, and we did like alternative and rock songs. We did like Metallica and Rush and weird stuff like that too. I really liked playing with those guys. That was the most fun live band I ever had. We were pretty good, I have to say. We won several Battle of the Bands in Boston and things like that. But what we got here is the version of a song that I wrote in college called Try a Little Harder. And we later played it with my band Cleverneck once I graduated college. And the band lineup for Cleverneck was Steve Santiago on drums rather than singing, and then we had my friend Mike Taranchi from college who was playing bass, and I can't remember if on this version of the song if he's playing the bass or if I did, or possibly we might have both traded off and played different sections. I can't remember because there have been so many versions recorded of this song. So many demo versions. So this is the best version, I would call it. So I'm playing guitar and Dan is singing, and the drums on the recording are by Rob Santiago, I think. Next we got the Bhingi Boy, and we are up to the summer of 2000. It was 20 years ago and feels every bit that far in the past. Feels like a lifetime ago. It was the summer where I took a massive cross-country trip. I drove out from New Jersey to San Jose, California, where Dan was living at the time. I went to visit him, and I went to stop and visit a lot of other friends and family along the way. One of it, which was my Uncle John, who lived up in Oregon. And this was a really circuitous, if that's how you pronounce it, trip. Took the northern route. I went all the way up through like Idaho and Montana and all that. And I came back down and visited a friend in Utah, and then I went up and back up again and went all the way up to Seattle, and then came down, and then I ended up in San Jose. My Uncle John showed me a recording that he had just done of a song that he had written. He's a guitarist and a musician as well, and he played it was called Bhingi Boy, and that song just got stuck in my head for like the entire summer. And after I left California, I took a plane and I went to Asia, and that's where I met my wife in Thailand. We got engaged there, and then I came back, and I took the southern route back across the country, made another cross-country drive in at that time, my '98 SS Camaro. And I took my Uncle Michael back with me because he lived in California, and I took him on a road trip. We went to the Grand Canyon, Las Vegas. It was New Orleans. It was fun, and we went back to New Jersey, and I played this song French Fry, which is the next song here, and I played it with him on stage once at one of the local Italian restaurants, and it's a fun song. He wrote it in the about Richard Nixon, and it contains the line, French fry the president's hair, but you could insert any president you like, or rather, I suppose, that you don't like. It's still a pretty relevant song, in whatever time period that you happen to have listened to it in. I would say this would be like my Uncle Michael's hit song. And so I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. This version was recorded, 2015, I think. Next we got Mr. Mayonnaise, and after I got married and finished law school, my wife and I moved from New Jersey to Washington, D.C. area, and our son Josh, of course. And around the same time, Dan, the former singer of Cleverneck, he got married and he moved to Maryland. So it's still about an hour and a half apart, but we thought, okay, this is great. We can record some songs on the weekend and write some songs, and then we come out with a whole album. And we wrote like 30 songs. Some of them he wrote, some of them I wrote, some of them we collaborated on. A lot of collaboration, actually. And we called the project Weekends with Dan because essentially I ended up driving, or he would drive down, on the weekend, and we'd write songs together. So Mr. Mayonnaise is one of the first ones that came out of these songwriting sessions. And this was back in the early 2000s. And I redid the vocals in 2015 and fixed a couple of things in the production. It's a remix. Next, we've got She Don't Go Out, and this is another one from the Weekends with Dan songwriting sessions, and this is one that Dan wrote the lyrics to, and a lot of the music too, and I helped write the music as well. And I wanted to include it on Prequel because it's sort of a little bit of a missing link in terms of like my music production, because it's getting away from the metal, and it's not punk like Weekends with Dan was, and it's getting more towards like the pop rock type of music that I play today. You know, maybe it sounds like it might have been able to fit on, like would have fit on into the Harbor City Meltdown album, actually, although it's not about that topic. But anyway, this is a hybrid version of the song. It includes some instrument tracks from the original 2005 recording, I think, and some of the guitars were out of tune, so I re-recorded them, and I redid the vocals. The drums are the original synth drums from 2005, but back then I had this Roland drum machine. I still have it, but right now I've got a much nicer drum synth. So I took the MIDI and I sent it into the different device, and it sounds a lot better than the original version did. So next we got Fake I.D, and that was another, I don't know if you call it Weekends with Dan, what do you call it? That song that didn't make the album, B-roll, if you want to call it that. So, and this, we never really finished the demo to, so I did at some point in the mid to late 2000s, and that's me singing a punk song, which is, and this is the same genre though as what we soon have, which was the Weekends with Dan EP, that we decided to go with the genre of like satire punk. So this is a song, encouraging kids to get a fake ID and do stuff like that. But anyway, got to put one on there of me singing punk. So it's a silly song. Next one, Ocean. Ocean was also from the Weekends with Dan sessions and totally didn't match the genre at all. I mean, it's a serious song. It's nothing even remotely related to punk or satire. But I like the song, and I made it a part of my live set, when I was playing in DC and when I was playing in Florida. I recorded it, the version that you're hearing on this album, in 2015 in my brother's attic in Poughkeepsie, New York, although that was not the first recording of it. And like I said, it's not even close to punk, so it didn't make the EP. Next we've got Anorexia, which was from the Weekends with Dan EP, and there are two versions of that, and this is the punk version. There is also an acoustic version on that release. But so this is directly from the Weekends with Dan EP, and this was kind of our single. This was recorded in 2007, I think, and it features me on guitar, Jeff McManus playing drums, and Jim Frint, our old Descending Angel bassist, playing bass, and that was nice to do a project with him again. I really like recording with him. And it has Dan singing, and it glorifies a bad boyfriend that encourages his girlfriend to be anorexic, although of course the boyfriend is completely ignorant and he's actually saying it's anorexia, but he's encouraging her to be bulimic. But anyway, it's satire punk. It's not meant to be encouraging anything. Next one is also from that EP, and it's called the Ballad of Raggedy Andy. And again, this is another satire punk. Same lineup, all four of us. And this is kind of fun and edgy was the goal with this. And it's about an individual, a patient that was that's stuck in a group home and trying to escape because he's they think he's insane, but he's not. And it's his battle to escape, and he does not succeed. Spoiler alert. Okay, and then we've got Disconnected is the last song in this album. And between 2008 and 2013, I didn't really record or any music, and I barely wrote any music. I did quite a few live performances though in the DC area, but I was busy running a law office at that time. So the recording and writing mostly took a backseat. I recorded some covers just for fun and just to keep up my skills or whatever. But anyway, so this next song, Disconnected, is from 2014. It's when I moved down to Florida, and it's like the last project I did before the Harbor City Meltdown project, which was, my return to music, recording, putting out a full album and all that. So this Disconnected project was associated with a local filmmaker, Nick Ram, and he asked me to, we became friends while I was delivering from the Chinese restaurant to the hotel that he worked at the time, and we became friends. And he's told me that he, makes movies, and he was working on a film, a low-budget local film, and it was really fun. He asked me to do the soundtrack for it, and I enjoyed doing that a lot. We did a mixture of, originals and kind of covers that were like not in the same style as the original of the songs. This song that I included, Disconnected, that was the title of the film, and it's the main song from the soundtrack. I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. It's not the typical type of song I play either. The keyboards are out of tune, but the song is supposed to be a little chaotic. It's about a robot that takes over the world, the movie and the song itself. Nick wrote these words, and it's a fun song, and I enjoyed also playing the villain of this film, and that was a good time. So there you have it. That's the first 25 years of my music career in a nutshell. I'm not actively marketing this album like I would on, usually with my regular albums, because the production quality on a lot of the songs is, it's not up to par. These songs were recorded, mixed, mastered, over a span of, 20 years, and the production quality reflects it on a lot of them. As of the performance quality, of course, I'm not gonna hide that either, and the, so, and the songwriting quality as well. I mean, it really is meant to document like my music career so much as be like this new album of all great material or whatever. So now when you ask Alexa to play my songs, though, it's not just going to play you songs from the last 5 years. It will actually legitimately reflect, my music career and play songs throughout my whole life, because this, it's going to be distributed through like iTunes and Amazon and all that. If you are going to buy any of the songs, I would probably recommend, you just heard samples of them, so you can decide for yourself. But I think that, the hit song or the best radio friendly type of song on this album is the Bhingi Boy song that my Uncle John wrote. Like I said, I had this song in my playing in my head for an entire summer. So I think it has some, I think that's a very good song, and I'm happy with the way it came out. And I completely recorded it in 2020, so it's its production standards are up to modern times as well. It's not some recording from the 1990s. But Rexia and Ballad of Raggedy Andy, they were, since they were on the Weekends with Dan EP, they were recorded in a legit recording studio. I think it was a recording studio that like Rage Against the Machine and Madonna recorded at in Jersey City. So, and we had a good co-producer there, a good engineer that was with Universal Records that did the recording for us, and it was high budget basically. So those two songs are going to sound really good. If you like that kind of music, if you like satire punk, if you haven't heard it, try it. And maybe Come On Eileen and Try a Little Harder, as far as from my earlier days. Those have pretty good production quality as well, and they're good songs. So now that this project is done and to my satisfaction and I'm ready to move on, I'll begin working on a new project in 2021. And I have a couple of ways to go with it that I'm not exactly 100% sure which way I'm going to take it. I've done some of the songwriting already, and I've got some ideas, but I'm not quite ready to share the details yet, because it's still a work in progress, or very early in progress. So it'll involve all new material, though, some of which, like I said, I've already begun to work on. But for now, I've got 3 albums out. And as far as if you do like my music, I would highly recommend buying, or streaming or whatever it is, however you listen to music, the Harbor City Meltdown album and the Hive Mind albums. They're cohesive albums. They're very different than this. However, if you've been following my music since the 1990s, or if you were my friend back then or in the 2000s and you're seeing this and want to hear some of those songs, this is the album for you. Or it's just got some gems on it, then just download a couple singles if you like them, especially, like I said, the Bhingi Boy and some of the Weekends with Dan stuff. All right. Till next album. Now I'll have some videos and stuff too, for some of these songs. All right.